June 9th, 68 AD. In a small villa outside Rome, a man who once ruled the most powerful empire on earth is digging his own grave. His guards have abandoned him. The Senate has declared him an enemy of the state. Soldiers are coming to drag him through the streets. He holds a dagger to his own throat, and he can't do it. So he begs the one servant who stayed behind to do it for him. His name was Nero, the man who killed his mother, his wife, his stepbrother, everyone who ever stood in his way. And in his final moment, he couldn't even kill himself. If you followed this series, you already know how we got here. Caligula, assassinated by his own guards. Messalina, executed for her betrayal. Agrippina, murdered by the son she created an emperor. Poppaea, killed by the same violence that built her throne. Every single person who helped Nero rise to power, Nero eventually destroyed. By 64 AD, Rome itself burned in the Great Fire, a disaster that consumed 10 of the city's 14 districts. Rumors spread that Nero started it himself to clear land for a new palace. Whether or not that was true, Nero made it worse. He blamed a small religious group called Christians, ordering brutal public executions to distract the public from their suspicions. It didn't work. The people of Rome were beginning to turn. After Poppaea's death, Nero seemed to lose all restraint. He spent more and more time pursuing his passion, not governing, but performing. He saw himself as an artist, a poet, a singer, an actor. In 66 AD, he left for a 15-month tour of Greece, competing in artistic competitions, walking barefoot, hair flowing, dressed as a Greek philosopher. While the emperor performed on stage, Rome was left to a freedman to govern. The Senate humiliated, the military officers disgusted. Even ordinary soldiers, men with old-fashioned values, were scandalized watching the descendant of Julius Caesar perform as common stage characters. Taxes had been raised to pay for rebuilding Rome after the fire. The treasury was being drained for Nero's lavish performances and personal indulgences. By early 68 AD, Nero had run out of people willing to protect him. In March of 68 AD, the governor of Gaul rose up in open rebellion. Nero's loyal forces managed to defeat them, but it was too late. The rebellion had revealed something dangerous, that Nero could be challenged. Galba, the governor of Spain, declared himself in opposition to Nero. Then came the final blow. The legions stationed in Egypt, who controlled Rome's critical grain supply, halted their shipments. The people of Rome began to starve. And when people starve, they stop caring about loyalty. The Senate, sensing the shift in power, made their move. They declared Nero a public enemy. Under Roman law, this meant execution by being stripped naked, bound by the neck to a wooden fork, and beaten to death. When Nero heard the news, he fled the palace in disguise. Nero made his way to a villa belonging to one of his few remaining loyal freedmen, just outside Rome. There, surrounded by only a handful of servants, the man who once commanded the largest empire on earth waited. He ordered his remaining attendants to begin digging a grave. As they dug, Nero reportedly kept repeating, "What an artist the world is losing." When messengers arrived confirming that soldiers were coming to capture him, Nero finally accepted what had to happen. He picked up a dagger. He held it to his own throat. And he hesitated. According to Suetonius, Nero turned to his secretary, a man named Epaphroditus, and begged him to help him finish it. With his secretary's help, Nero drove the blade into his own throat. Moments later, a centurion burst into the room, sent not to kill him, but to arrest him. The Senate, it turned out, had actually intended to spare his life. The centurion pressed a cloak to the wound, pretending he had come to help. Nero looked at him and said, "Too late." Then, "Is this your loyalty. His final words, according to legend, were, "What an artist dies in me." He died at 30 years old. With his death, the Julio-Claudian dynasty, the bloodline of Julius Caesar and Augustus himself, came to an end. The dynasty that began with an assassination, Caligula, stabbed 30 times in a dark corridor, ended exactly the same way it started, with blood, betrayal, and a man who trusted no one, being failed by everyone. 5 emperors, 5 different paths to power. Every single one of them ended in violence. This has been the story of Rome's most dangerous dynasty, the family that built an empire and destroyed itself from within. If you followed this entire series, thank you for going on this journey with us. Subscribe to Dark Chronicles, because Rome's story is far from over, and neither are the dark chapters of history still waiting to be uncovered.